Today's session, we will be covering push notification best practices and ROI, which is return on investment. My name is Ara Jakuma, and I'm a renewals manager here at OneSignal. Essentially, I kind of work with most of our seasoned customers to assist them with updating their contracts or agreements. So hopefully they get the most out of OneSignal and our services. For today's agenda, we will be covering a quick overview of push notifications. Then we'll be getting into the meat of the webinar with push notification best practices. And from there, after that, we'll be moving on to covering how to drive ROI. And finally, we'll leave a bit of time at the end for question and answers session. So feel free, if you do have questions at any point, go ahead and just enter them into the Q&A chat in your Zoom window, and we'll be sure to cover them at the end. Perfect. So getting into push notification overview, just wanted to make sure that we level set and understand what actually push notifications are. So push notifications are essentially messages that are pushed from a server and pop up on a user's device. So that device could be a mobile phone, a tablet, or even your kind of laptop or desktop computer. So push notifications are great for engaging your customers and also for re-engaging your customers. And typically they provide pretty timely information or actionable things that customers or your users can do around your business, brand, or even products, etc. So I did want to clarify that push notifications can be sent to subscribers, but a subscriber is an individual or a device that has actually opted in to receive push notifications. So you do first have to ask and have individuals opt in to say, yes, I would like to receive push notifications. But we've seen that push notifications these days are actually one of the most important communication channels used by apps today, and particularly mobile phones. I'm sure you are all on your phones fairly often during the day, and push notifications are a great way to engage with users and your customers. Perfect. So now that we know what push notifications are, let's cover push notification best practices. So what should you keep in mind when you are crafting and sending push notifications? So first, one best practice that we recommend is avoiding default permission prompts. So the prompt is how you ask your users to opt in to receive push notifications. And instead of just the default, we recommend actually using a pre-prompt or a soft prompt, or even a welcome screen if you have a mobile app before the default prompt. And the reason why is that this is a great way to actually kind of customize the prompt and clearly explain why your users should consider opting in to receive push notifications. So instead of just saying, hey, we want to send you push notifications, be as clear as you can. Like, we'd like to send you notifications on, exciting news or updates around OneSignal. Or we'd like to send you player updates so you can always know who has the highest score for this game. Whatever it might be, make sure you're trying to be as clear and kind of show value to your users as why they should say yes and opt in to your push notifications. Another important thing about the pre-prompt is that you can actually customize it. You can actually brand it with your company logo. You can see here in this image, we've included the OneSignal logo. You can include your logo on the pre-prompt. You can actually edit the yes and no options. So here we have no thanks and allow, but you can even add maybe later, or yes, I love news, whatever might work for your company or business and your brand. But you can kind of customize these colors that work. So it's, provides that level of continuity for your brand. Additionally, pre-prompts allow you to actually have your users opt into specific categories or topics of notifications that they would like to receive. So within OneSignal, we actually offer these kind of soft prompts that allow you to easily and quickly add various categories that your users can opt into. So you can see here again in this example on the right, they can check everything that they would like to receive news on, or uncheck anything that doesn't quite interest them. And then it helps you provide the most kind of relevant notifications going forward. And finally, a great reason for actually including pre-prompts is that it actually prevents your users from being blocked from subscribing. So if you only have the default permission prompt, they can say no, and then you don't ever have a chance to kind of ask them again to opt into notifications. The pre-prompt, even if they say no the first time, you can actually then ask them, after they visited the site maybe a few more times, to ask them to opt in. So it allows you a little bit more flexibility to actually engage and have more users opt in to increase your subscriber base. Next, one best practice that we recommend is personalizing your notifications. This is one of the things that actually has kind of the most impact on your users. We've seen that personalized content can actually increase your open rates up to 4 times as much. And one way that we actually can include personal information within OneSignal is through what we call data tags. And so think of data tags as simply just any user attributes or personal information or even actions that you want or that you have around your users. So these allow you to kind of be hyper specific and relevant with the copy that you're sending to your users in the notifications. So, you can include things such as their name or even their game player name if you are a gaming mobile app. You can include things like what level they're on, encouraging them to play. And you can even include things like if you are an e-commerce site, maybe purchases that they've made recently, or if they have something currently in their cart but haven't purchased. So you can see here in our image on the right, the example, we're kind of highlighting, including the specific name, also the specific item, as well as the specific item image that this individual was looking at or maybe had in their cart. So again, this is a great way when you personalize the messages, it kind of makes the users feel almost important and special, and like you actually are in tune with kind of what they want and they need. And they are more likely to kind of actually take the action that you want them to, whether that be to open your game and play, read that news article, or even move forward and purchase that item in the cart. Another great way to add personalization is through what we call segmentation, and actually adding filters to kind of group or target your users appropriately. So you can actually group them around a lot of the personal information or data tags that you add within OneSignal, as well as even group them around specific actions that they've taken. So you can send notifications to individuals that are only just recent visitors, maybe within the last week. Maybe you want to offer them a special promotion, or maybe you want to send a notification to individuals that have not visited your site in the past month so that you can re-engage them and get them to come back and purchase an item. So these are great ways that you can personalize your notifications, either by targeting a specific group around an action or an interest that they might have, as well as including kind of personalized copy in your messages. But we definitely recommend you kind of personalizing your notifications, and you'll definitely see kind of the improvements in ROI that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Okay. Next, we definitely encourage you to use rich media in your push notifications. So rich media is just classified as images, GIFs, video, and even audio or action buttons. And so the reason for part of this, as I noted here, I think we are all familiar with the age-old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And frankly, sometimes, your users aren't always going to read even the short blurb that maybe you'd written, the copy, or they're not always going to click on your notification. But the image or a video allows them you to still get your point across without having them to have to read or click your entire notification. So the images actually do add a lot of value to your push notifications and help kind of get your message across. They also are just very enticing and visually appealing, and can also kind of allow you another way to provide some continuity with your kind of company or business branding. At OneSignal, we have seen that push notifications that are sent with images have a 9% higher click-through rate. So again, even though they might not be clicking on the notification, the images and videos or rich media that you add actually do typically entice users to kind of move forward with the action and click the notification that you actually want them to take. Okay. Next, we recommend actually testing various call to action or call to value messages. So within OneSignal, we actually do offer what we call A/B testing. And so A/B testing is just a great way for you to experiment to know what works with your users and maybe what doesn't work with their users. So when we say test various call to actions, you can see I've listed a few here. So you can kind of play around with testing the urgency, maybe saying, only 3 days left to take advantage of 20% off, as opposed to just saying, okay, 20% off now until Friday. So there are various ways that you can play around with, the call to actions, whether it be enticing individuals with urgency or limited offers or access, sending price alerts, or even offering personalized discounts. So again, maybe targeting around, this is an exclusive group because you've been a longtime customer, things like that, or even just playing around with power words such as buy now or order now, as opposed to, purchase this item, or we see that you're interested. So these are various things that we recommend to test with our A/B testing option. And the great thing here is you can see we have a test A and a test B. Actually, within OneSignal, you can actually test up to 10 variants within one notification or message to kind of find the winning combination that works for you. So definitely, I think a lot of people are, used to using A/B messaging to test maybe whether to include an image or an emoji, but we also encourage you to actually kind of play around with testing the specific copy and call to actions and call to value that you're offering your users. So next, this one is actually personally my favorite. We definitely encourage you to be creative and fun with your notifications. Frankly, this isn't something you have to take super, super seriously. It's also been found that when you include or send creative and fun push notifications, they help you stand out, and they're actually key to increasing your engagement with your customers and users. So, it's definitely best to have a little bit of fun. Keep your notifications crisp and punchy and witty, and also make sure that they're kind of actionable or include maybe an educational takeaway. But we definitely encourage you to try to have that unique edge and enjoyment while still aligning with your overall brand. You can see here, we've kind of included 3 examples of some fun notifications. Tinder, which is a dating app. It says a new person is giving you a chance, but it's probably not going to work out though. That's funny. They're kind of enticing you to even just see what might happen and click the message and check out who might be interested in you for this dating app. Quiz Up here, they're saying it's so long since you've played that now Quiz Up is a pizza place. And we all know how that happens in a lot of big cities. Your favorite place is now changed to a pizza place or a new food place. So you can see here that these examples, they're having fun while still aligning with their brand. Even the New York Times, which is a very reputable, media site, they've included a lot of emojis and kind of funness because they're talking about checking out some all comics issue where cartoonists are drawing different things. So definitely, even if your brand is a reputable media site and you're sending breaking news, you can still have some fun with the types of notifications that you're sending. So always remember to be fun, be witty, be punchy, and have some fun with it, and you'll reap the benefits of keeping your customers engaged. And so finally, one of our best practices is actually to avoid over messaging. I know this is one that I've heard a lot from OneSignal customers as well. So our recommendation is try not to send too many messages or push notifications, because it can actually have the opposite of the desired effect that you're wanting, which could actually be users even just opting out of receiving push notifications entirely. So one of the ways to kind of make sure you're avoiding over messaging is actually making sure that your notifications are timely, so they can be triggered by actually user behaviors or preferences, your users' interests. So sending notifications around maybe those that have recently purchased or have been looking at, sports news. It makes sense to then maybe send them the latest sports news, keep them timely, or send it based on any recent action they've taken within your app or on your website. And then additionally, we also recommend keeping your messages actionable. Make sure you're having a clear call to action or next step for the user. If there's always a next step, then generally you're not going to over message. Think of it as, if you're going to tap someone on the shoulder and tell them something, it's probably important, and there's something that you might want them to do next. Think of your notifications as the same way. If you're going to send them a notification, make sure it is pretty actionable and clear as to what the user will do. This way you'll avoid just sending, frivolous messages that don't really have much action for the users. So make sure that your notifications are always relevant when you kind of make sure they're timely and actionable. Additionally, within OneSignal, especially on our kind of paid or higher tiered paid plans, we do have a great feature called frequency capping. This actually allows you to automatically control the push notification volume to avoid sending too many messages to your customers or users. So you can see here in this image on the right, we kind of specify maybe you only want your users to receive 5 messages per day. You can actually change this to even an hour or a week. Maybe it's you only want to send 3 notifications per week. This way, it allows you to kind of just automatically know that you won't be over messaging your users, and is a really, really nice feature within OneSignal to kind of help you control or avoid over messaging your users. Perfect. So now that we've covered a lot of best practices, we definitely wanted to cover driving ROI or driving your return on investment with this communication channel. So around the impetus of driving ROI, we first want you to consider the KPIs or goals that are most important to you or for your business, whether that's your particular marketing department, you as maybe your own business owner, or even just your overall brand. What are your goals for the year? What are your goals for the quarter or the next 3 to 6 months? And think about that as you are sending these push notifications. And next, after you've kind of got a good alignment on what your main KPIs or goals are, then think about how these KPIs can be tracked. Is it simply that you want to count how many users are visiting this particular page or this particular article? Do you want to sum the amount of revenue generated by a specific promotion or a specific item that is new for your company or business? Do you want to count the opens? Do you want to understand the length of sessions, the session duration? Is it just counting the number of items purchased, or even counting the number of articles clicked? So think about how you want these KPIs to be tracked. And the great thing is you can actually track pretty much most of this within OneSignal. So within OneSignal, we have our advanced analytics, or what we call outcomes. It allows you to even track these events and actions that result from your push notifications. So again, basically every KPI, you can actually track the ultimate goal of that notification. So was it that you wanted to track how many users purchased a product, how much revenue was generated, or how many apps opens were initiated, or how many times your game was played? You can actually do that within OneSignal. I think our advanced analytics is great in allowing you to go one step beyond the CTR and understand, hey, is this driving ultimately our goals and what we want? So this is a great way to understand how your notifications are actually driving your ROI. Now, quickly, I just wanted to kind of review actually realizing the return on investment. Back in 2020, OneSignal, we actually did a study where 300 OneSignal businesses were interviewed and surveyed. And essentially, we found that 72% of the businesses said that mobile and web push notifications do offer a greater or equal return on investment than email. And 44% actually said their ROI from the push channel is actually greater than the ROI from email. And finally, 82% of companies said push notifications help them meet or exceed their business goals. So our OneSignal customers have been telling us that they have realized the return on investment. Again, it's just great in trying to keep in mind to figure out how you can track that specifically as it pertains to your business. So as a quick review, just wanted to highlight a few other kind of ROI stats. Push notifications do actually boost app engagement by 88% and can increase your app retention by up to 3 or even 10 times as much. We found that users who've opted into push notifications, they're actually retained at 2 times the rate of those that aren't. And finally, cart abandonment is something in 2019, it was at a rate of almost 70%. But actually, abandoned cart notifications can increase your revenue up to 15%. So again, kind of encouraging those individuals to actually purchase and drive revenue directly, which is obviously increasing your ROI and as well as your bottom line. Perfect. So that's kind of everything we wanted to cover. I did want to leave some time for some question and answers. Please feel free to write your questions in the little question and answer window in your Zoom chat, or you can also just type them in the chat box as well. So I'll pause to see if there are any questions on any of the material that we've covered today, or anything else that you might have burning questions on regarding push notifications. All right, looks like we've got a question here. Is it possible to do retargeting with push notifications? Great, good question. Yes, we actually do have within OneSignal what we call an actual retargeting feature. So within our system, actually, as soon after you've sent a message, you'll actually be able to view who has either opened or clicked the notification, as well as those that did not open or did not click. And you can then quickly retarget those users. So essentially, it allows you to automatically have a segment of those that did not click the message to create a new message for them, maybe to entice them with another special promotion or a second message that you would like to send. So retargeting is a great way to boost re-engagement and hone in on some of your specific users, and is a feature that we actually do have within OneSignal itself. So hopefully makes it pretty seamless and automatic. All right, another question is, are we able to monitor the results of specific outcomes? Great question. So you can actually, within OneSignal, you'll see once you've set up an outcome, it will persist on all of your push notifications, but the results will show up per notification. So you'll be able to see those results and be able to monitor them as the notification maybe is still going over a day or two. So you'll be able to see whether that increases or decreases. So for instance, if it's purely a count or if it is a sum, that number will continue to generate for the life of that notification, and you'll be able to see that per each notification. So there's another question. It says, how much these features are enabled for free plan users? Great question. So the frequency capping and the retargeting, those are things that are on our paid plans, but actually, most of the best practices that I reviewed today are all available on the free plan. So you can use our soft prompts, the pre-prompts. You are allowed to add data tags and include personalization and segmentation. these are things that are available to all of our free plan users. So most of these best practices for push notifications that we've highlighted are actually all available on free plans, and you don't necessarily need a higher pay plan to do them. And then looks like another question is, how do we send push to users who only download the app, and how to know who acted? So I'm not sure I fully understand, but this is a good question. So it sounds like you're asking maybe how you can message those that have downloaded the app, but maybe haven't opted in. If that is what you're asking, it actually is going more towards what we call in-app messaging as opposed to push notifications. So for instance, in-app messaging allows you to actually reach all of your users that have downloaded your mobile app. So the great thing about in-app messaging is that they don't have to opt in to anything. You can actually send them a notification, an in-app message, as opposed to a notification. Again, notifications, you do have to have the individual opt in. So essentially you're sending a notification to anyone that has agreed to receive them. But in-app messaging is a great way to kind of reach those that haven't opted in, but have actually downloaded your app. So it allows you a little bit broader audience for in-app messaging. Within OneSignal, if you go to our kind of audience and all users tab, that is where you can view who has, like, who of your users is subscribed versus who is not, to allow you to understand better how to segment those users, or maybe who you want to target to send a specific in-app message to. Okay, and then this next question says, if an application hosts several different applications, how do you avoid over messaging? Good question. So it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, you're kind of wondering, sounds like maybe you have several apps or maybe several separate websites, correct? Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think one of the things we're trying to do within OneSignal is hone in on more on users as opposed to devices. So kind of like a user journey or a user model. So in the future, we're trying to make it easier for you to orchestrate, like, hey, this user has received this message maybe from one app as well as another, so that you don't necessarily want to avoid over messaging. Generally now you can still do this. It is important to use what we call the user ID. So essentially it's a ID that maybe you have in your own CRM or database around your users. So it's a unique user ID for that particular user. And if you have that user ID across both of your apps, that will help you understand how many messages they are receiving from each app. Definitely kind of note that you would maybe have to go back between the two and track this a little bit on your own, just to make sure they're not receiving too many messages. But hopefully in the future, as we flesh out kind of our user journey and user model options, we'll make this a little bit more seamless within OneSignal and even from kind of your overall admin to do this across various apps. But really good question. Another question was, this wasn't covered today, but I'm really curious how intelligent delivery works. Sure, I can definitely go over intelligent delivery. So intelligent delivery is a really great feature. Essentially with the OneSignal SDK, once you've added that to your app or website, we actually automatically track when your users are most active on your app or website. So at that time is when we will send them that notification for intelligent delivery. So for instance, myself, I generally like to visit, maybe USA Today at 8 a.m. before I start work, read up on the news for the day. But maybe my colleague, Dion, she actually likes to visit USA Today at 5 p.m. after she's finished working. So if you chose to send us a notification with intelligent delivery, I would actually get that at 8 a.m. and she would get it at 5 p.m. So basically, we're kind of taking a rolling average of when that specific user is most active, and we'll send them the notification at that time. That is how intelligent delivery works. It's a great feature, but keep in mind, it does depend on the types of notifications you're sending. For instance, if you're sending breaking news, maybe you don't want to send intelligent delivery because if it's really important, someone might get that news later in the day if that's when they are most likely to check your app. So for instance, something around breaking news, we would probably recommend that you send that right away or at a specific time zone as opposed to the intelligent delivery. Because again, intelligent delivery does work. It's whenever that user is most likely to be on your app or website, that's when the notification will get sent to them. Perfect. I think that's everything. I appreciate all of you. There's a lively audience with a lot of great questions. Hopefully you found this, webinar today informative, and that you'll take away and kind of put into practice a lot of these best practice recommendations that we've provided here today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all for using OneSignal as well as your interest in OneSignal. And we look forward to helping you all power your push notifications moving forward. Have a great day, everyone.